continuing our discussion on women in leadership. And today we're going to talk a little bit about women being liked versus revered and the importance of making sure that we define our personal brand in the workplace and in our lives. So welcome, I'm Diane Edwards, Senior Project Manager, Corporate Leader, and also Sales and Marketing Guru. So, let's talk about it. Do you prefer to have women leaders be liked or revered? So, the reason I'm asking that is because women tend to feel like we need to be liked. We need people to like us and be happy about how we make them feel. And that's the natural nurturing aspect of us as women. And in the workplace, it's one of the reasons we can be very successful because we actually care about how people feel while they're doing their work. But I want to explore that a little bit because is it the same for a male leader? What if a team that's, potentially composed of let's just say 70% men. What if they don't like their women leaders, and particularly their women manager? Are you going to feel so bad about that you change your work behavior because they don't like you? Or are you going to celebrate the fact that they don't like you because you're assuming they respect or revere you? So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because there's how we feel about ourselves based on how other people view us, particularly as managers. If your team or particular male leader, it could be a coworker, if they don't like you, it doesn't necessarily mean they respect you. So I think what we need to begin to do is to separate feelings about ourselves from effectiveness and efficiency based on performance and what we actually do. Because men do that all the time. They don't spend, and again, I'm being general and, painting it with a broad brush, but how many male leaders come to your office and say, you know what, I wanted to talk to you because I don't think people liked me very much when I made my presentation about changes, or I don't think people like me as much as I think they do. It would be very rare for that to happen. And again, we're not taking away the nurturing and what makes us uniquely special as women. What we're simply doing is, for our own sanity and our own success, separating liked from effective and performing well. So, we know what it takes to make people feel special. And we enter corporate America. Most of us started in administrative roles and worked our way up. Or if we did come into corporate America in a specific role, it was likely in a male-dominated hierarchy. And we had to navigate and find ways to climb up the ladder and break the glass ceilings and all of that. So have a unique perspective on things. We know how to smile. We know how to not be threatening to, any male leader so that they do feel that they're being supported versus challenged. That's usually where women in corporate America, where we establish longevity, because male leaders are not feeling threatened or challenged, and they celebrate the woman leader and help with advancement, promotions, because you're a nurturer at work. An added plus, after battling through travel and traffic and all of the issues they have, maybe they even have personal issues at home, but you are refuge, you are a opportunity to relax. Whereas if they're around their male peers, they are in their armor because they know they may be challenged at any given time, lose promotions and things like that. So back to our topic, being liked versus being revered. I'm going to give you some of my opinion. I think women need to be liked and revered, and I think it's got to be a balance. The hardest part for us is learning how to be respected enough to be taken serious for consideration of leadership roles. Even when you're hired directly into a leadership role, it doesn't mean you're hired into a leadership role. It's simply maybe in title only, which happens all too often with women. You're senior vice president of operations. That doesn't necessarily mean you're senior vice president of operations. It could mean that you are refuge, you are comfort, you are relaxation for your superiors and your peers. You are non-threatening. You could be a placeholder for a future hire. You could be there permanently for 20 to 30 years and be a mouthpiece. Be a look, a face, a nurturer, relaying a message from superiors or peers. That's not necessarily wrong. So I think, number one, define your role based on what you see, and more importantly, as a woman, your intuition. You won't necessarily be told you're a mouthpiece. You're here to give relaxation versus challenge. You're going to need to use your intuition, because we work hard to be given these opportunities, so we don't necessarily want to look a horse in the mouth and say, I want you to hire me with the same expectations as a male leader. I don't think that, number one, works. Number two, I don't think we're going to get that. We're still in the process of perfecting opportunity as women leaders. So in understanding that, what we're now going to have to begin to do is see a job description put that to the side. Maybe what we'll do is we'll put together a spreadsheet, and on one side of that spreadsheet is the job description. But to the left, it will be the evidence we've collected to support our intuition. Now, the reason I say that is because we don't want to go off of feelings alone. I think that would be a mistake, because we must have evidence to support the feelings we're having and the intuitions, because intuition can potentially be coming from other places in our lives. So, based on concrete evidence that there's a difference between the job description and our perceptions of why we were put in that leadership role versus why we were actually put in that role. And evidence collected are going to be things such as your role dictates that you lead certain meetings and you sit at the head of the conference room table, and the presentation has your name on it, and your team is leading other teams on the initiative. Based on your role in the job description, that you're leading everything based on your role and your job title. Now, if you're asked not to sit at the head of the table, although it's your meeting, if you're asked to have someone else's team take the lead, although your team, based on paper, should lead the initiative, if you're suddenly given menial work so you can't focus on a strategic, important initiative, if during the meetings that you are allowed to run, you're asked about slightly demeaning things, such as, during the meeting when you're trying to present serious information, ask, what do you think about a particular dress, or what do you think about makeup, lipstick, or something like that. Whereas with a male leader, the meeting would be taken serious and there'd be a serious tone to the meeting. So you're going to collect the evidence that your intuitive feelings are telling you, and be very specific, and you're going to write that down as well, because again, we're not judging why we were put in that role, because we value opportunity and advancement, but it's not just about getting the role, it's about owning the role, and you individually and within your profession getting reverence, respect for what you do. So therefore, and I talk about this a little bit in my blog as well, we have to align all the colors of the Rubik's Cube. The Rubik's Cube being all of the many aspects of what it takes to be successful as a woman leader, and also feeling good in our role. So it's okay to want to feel liked and appreciated, at the same time respected. So that's okay. And that's absolutely what we deserve. But we also want to understand the realities around us. So the Rubik's Cube being, we want to line all the colors up. So what that means is every facet of the job description, so the hard skills, the things you're hired and paid to do, and the soft skills, what you bring to the table and what you have perfected by education, by experience to the role. This is what you bring to the role. The hard skills, the soft skills, the overall package. That is you. But each side of the Rubik's Cube, so you have leadership versus management. You have team management versus coordination. You have managing upwards and managing laterally and managing downwards. All of these things fit into various quadrants and each side of that Rubik's Cube. And the reason I'm using the analogy of a Rubik's Cube is because things can change daily. What that means is when that Rubik's Cube is turning and turning and turning, and there's change and adjustments in your organization, you still need to be that Rubik's Cube and ultimately get back to all the colors being lined up properly, while in the middle of that Rubik's Cube, you feel good about what you do. You feel confident. You feel established in your role. You feel liked enough. And you smile when you think about how much you love what you do. And ideally, you love many of the people that you work with. And you feel, in general, they love you in what you do as well. They harbor you no ill will. And that's a great feeling because we're human at the end of the day. And although we do have titles and it is work, we always want to feel human. So, having said that, and we will explore these topics as our podcast and blog, begin to incorporate a lot of the thoughts and the feelings that you're having as well. I want to hear from you. I want you to click the links. I want you to submit suggestions. I want to interact with you, and I want this to feel like we're starting a circle in a family of strength, support for us as women and leaders, and that we respect and we appreciate the nurturing role that we have been given, and also celebrate leadership as we continue to break glass ceilings and explore and continue to do things we never thought possible, which is fantastic because it's always about innovation. It's always about growth. So having said that, as I begin to wrap up this particular podcast, I want to make sure also that we understand this is hard work and that what we're attempting to do is not easy, and that our forebears have laid a path. It wasn't easy for them, so we can't expect that it's going to be easy for us either. But we fight the fight, and we know it's important because there will be other women that come behind us that will appreciate that we stood up for ourselves and that we found a way to navigate corporate situations. We didn't quit. We didn't leave. We didn't grovel around, and we didn't, shrink, become a shrinking flower. We bloomed and we stood up for ourselves in the way that we as women can do. We smiled. If we were asked not to take a seat at the head of the table, we did it anyway. After, again, reviewing the impacts of that, we don't want to lose respect because, we're being perceived as being too domineering, but where it's just petty and it's just silly, and there's no based on the evidence we've collected, it's not going to be taken too seriously. If you sit at the head of the table, then sit at the head of the table. Sit at the head of the table. Lead your meetings. Be strong. Be confident. Smile. Love what you do. You don't need to have that trepidation and the uneasy feeling, because you're there to do a job just like a male leader is there to do a job. So why should you feel trepidation? These are the type of things we need to think about. Again, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear what your situations were. I want to include some of that in my vlogs and blog as well, and podcast, because I think it's a shared experience. I don't think there's anything a woman has encountered that another woman hasn't. I think how we react to it greatly differs. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to share some of my experience over my years in corporate America and in leadership roles that can help someone that they may be feeling like, listen, I don't have to deal with this, but we are women and we're nurturers, and they may have hired you because there's no one else that can work with that person, and they're hoping that you can do that. So therefore, again, use your intuition, and all of the aspects of being a nurturer to be successful in what we do. So listen, thank you very much for joining the podcast today. And please click the links. I'd like to hear from you. And also, we are providing various products and services on our Shopify site. And also, we have a blog. And we would like your input and your support as well. And we want to support you also. Share if you have a blog, you have a podcast, you have products and services. So I want to support you so we can all feel supported as well. So thank you very much and enjoy your day.